Good evening, friends. It gives me great pleasure in joining you in celebrating Roger Angers' centenary. I have put together a couple of images that would summarize Roger Angers' contribution to architecture as a whole, but also his role as an urbanist and his relevance not only to Auroville but also to the future cities the world over. It was the mother, Sri Aurobindo's collaborator, who invited acclaimed Parisian architect Roger Angers, then 42 years old, to be the chief architect of Auroville, an ideal city project that she was initiating as the city the earth needs. Upon his acceptance, she wrote him a personal letter on the 30th of March 1965 that it was a real joy and no surprise to hear from him, as she had always felt him to be the man of this project. Already in 1938, she had ushered in India's modern architecture period through inviting Antonin Raymond from Japan to design Golconda, a state-of-the-art dormitory for the members of their rapidly expanding ashram. The exemplary building that resulted, India's first reinforced concrete building, was realized long before Le Corbusier and Louis Kahn arrived in the country. Roger Angers, one of the most prolific architects in post-war Paris during the 50s and 60s, had realized over 100 buildings, including several distinct high-rise residential ones, with a team of around 100 architects and assistants at its peak. A Paris Guide to Modern Architecture cites several of these. Known for his success at individualizing collective housing and their rhythmic human-scaled facades, his unique architectural language was characterized by sculptural plasticity and individualized, timeless modernity. He was also celebrated for his innovative and experimental approach to form, space, and material across architecture's various scales, from urban to interior, from surface finishes and construction details to the design of the landscape and territory. 28-story housing towers in Grenoble, the highest residential buildings in Europe at the time, are among his heritage buildings in France. In Auroville, the Matrimandir, the school buildings and houses in Automodel, built around the 70s, are among the architectural highlights of his legacy. Neither the founder nor the architect were satisfied with Chandigarh's urban vision as an example of a city of the future. Instead of celebrating newfound individualism of emerging post-industrial lifestyles enabled by contemporary technologies, Roger Angers' visions for urbanism had included the necessary course correction to reposition architecture and city-making as essentially social endeavors that were human-centric, steering the progress and evolution of human society beyond short-term thinking and prevalent trends. For Auroville, he began by raising the question, shall we allow the presence of cars? And warned, probably in just a few years, India will know, same as Europe and the US, the major urban problem the automobile is. To which the mother had responded, small vehicles electrically powered, carrying about 200 kg at a 15 km per hour speed. Other radical grounding principles laid down by the founder, such as land being a common resource that cannot be individually owned, and an economy where money would no longer be the sovereign lord, set the context where Roger Angers' team could radically rethink the city as a holistic new organism that could propel human society's advancements and accelerate human evolution. A 3-year-long design process with regular interactions with the mother resulted in the pedestrian-centric galaxy plan that she inaugurated Auroville with in 1968. 2 years earlier already, Roger Anger presented Auroville at UNESCO in Paris thus: "It will be experimental by its urbanism and architecture." The task to give a concrete form to the vision of Sri Aurobindo has been given to the mother, the creation of a new world, of a new society, expressing and incorporating a new consciousness to the work she has initiated. Auroville then appears like an attempt to realize, through work and actions in this material world, the vision of Sri Aurobindo. It is serendipitous or timely then that Roger Anger's own birth centenary falls within the 150th year of Sri Aurobindo's anniversary being celebrated across India, coinciding with India's 75th year of independence, during which the bold steps that Auroville was poised to take have been initiated. Anger's foresight identified future urban challenges, and his visions are now being celebrated globally, beginning with rethinking mobility and ending with restoring human scale and intimacy in the built environment. Last year, his original Auroville model was flown into New York and displayed at MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art, describing it as a stunning artifact representing and embodying an equally stunning urban and societal vision. The Lisbon Architecture Triennale 2022, themed Terra, included Roger Anger as a key visionary, illustrating new paradigms that have the potential of shifting from a linear growth model of cities as machines to a circular evolutionary model of cities as organisms. I first met Roger Anger in 1990 when I interacted with him as a young architect having moved to Auroville to seek his feedback on my projects here. I became more closely associated with him since around 1996, by when he had asked me to progressively develop urban designs and detailed parameters for Auroville's administrative area, then the habitat in the city center, and eventually for the whole city center. For Auroville's planning, I worked under his close supervision, and in 1999, he guided us in the production of Auroville's master plan document, Perspective Plan 2025, which went on to be approved and gazetted. By 2002, I had started writing a book on his architecture, Research on Beauty, that he contributed to more actively from 2005 onwards. During those 17 years, we met frequently, and later, perhaps even daily, when he was in Auroville. The last 3 years with him were the ones where we had conversations of deeper reflection about architecture as well as about everything else at his home in Auroville as well as in France, where I had the great privilege of staying occasionally. I remember Roger Anger as one of those sophisticated persons who by their very existence raises standards. He set a very high benchmark, an intriguingly rare personality who could maintain the widest of vision and simultaneously pay attention to the smallest of details. He carried a sense of unhurried calm that comes with clarity, focus, and conviction, but without an iota of stress and frenzy that accompanies large projects. Facing all the expected struggles of resistance that visionaries face, he remained loyal to the original intent and insisted on the urban dimension of Auroville as synonymous with the project. Observing him navigate resistances is perhaps my biggest takeaway. Each resistance he faced revealed more clearly who he was and why it was indeed he who was chosen by the mother as the man of the project. I find it very timely that during Roger Angers' centenary year, the implementation of Auroville as per the original vision and work of Roger Angers, guided by the mother, is being taken seriously. Despite how turbulent the big shift towards Auroville's urban dimension seems to be perceived, it is my sense that we are at a turning point where true and willing collaboration that Roger Angers always aspired for is indeed emerging. In conclusion, I would like to end with a few words from Roger Angers' interview to Auroville Today in December 1988. For a long time, Aurovillians tried to deny my existence. But I think now they recognize the capacities and abilities of everyone. Urbanism is always very complicated because it touches psychoanalytical fields, the dream of everyone to build his own house, and Auroville is the only place in the world where one has the possibility to do so. I think now we have reached the point where we are coming to the end of our wild experiences. One has to accept the necessity of a structure which does not necessarily exclude marginal experiences. More and more we will be led and forced to respect the charter and the ideals of Auroville. And to the final question from Auroville Today: when Auroville will be completed, what will Auroville be? Roger replied, Auroville will undertake a perpetual search for the future with beings of high quality who will have, for a great deal, overcome their limitations, achieved a true communication, a true fraternity based on openness and an understanding of the other in a beautiful and harmonious environment within the context of an exceptional city where each man's dreams will be part of life and where experience will always renew itself, integrated in an unending consciousness of spiritual values incarnated in matter, as well as a harmonious balance with nature. I believe Auroville will be a place where man's fear of not being able to live at the levels of his expectations of himself will be overcome. A certain form of human ego will have been left behind. Conflicts and blows will be stimulating instead of destructive. Auroville will be a beautiful city whose children will be beautiful. I believe in the sun-eyed children, and I also believe that there will be many more Aurovilles in the world, each one different, bearing relation to the particular problems of each country. I believe Auroville will finally become reunited to an inner law, and then it will be like a lighthouse, an unbelievable fire. But one will always have to remain vigilant and not allow oneself to become a sect. I think we have skirted this danger for the time being. At least it is not about to resurface. I hope so in any case. I also believe the notion of the elect and the servitors are two different things. We are not the elect. That is madness. We are voluntary servitors, or perhaps chosen servitors.